Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you. On this video I will be talking about the latest episode I've watched of the Midnight Club. So this is going to be a review of episode 4. It is called Gimme a Kiss, so full spoilers from the start of this review. Gimme the Kiss, or Gimme a Kiss I should say, is the name of Sandra's story, which she tells at the Midnight Club meeting in this episode, and I'll dive straight into that stuff because there's a big part of the tension and drama of the episode is between her and Spence. So this is an interesting thing for them to explore and look at, because in a way you are talking about two polar opposites in their ideology, and part of the issue between them in this episode is Sandra continuing to sort of preach religion, and at one point when they have their morning therapy session, she suggests, why not have a mass? Why not stage a mass type thing? And once again, this rubs certain people up the wrong way, Spence in particular, and he actually quotes Onra's line from a previous episode where she has run down Sandra and her belief, saying not everything's black and white, it's not as simple as that. And Spence uses a line back at Sandra, but there's a bigger issue for him, and that is that he's had a very bad experience being a gay person at the hands of religious people. His parents are super religious, he says. He says his mother has kind of shunned him, disowned him a little bit because of him being gay, and that seems to go against her religious beliefs. And yeah, it's quite a powerful confrontational type argument, and Spence, you can tell he's getting really frustrated with the way Sandra is preaching all this, and because that is his experience, then yeah, religious people, people of that sort of faith haven't been very supportive or open-minded when it comes to gay people. And with this being the 1980 or 1990, sorry, you can maybe see how that sadly would be the case a lot of the time. I mean, fingers crossed things have changed now and progressed, but back then it was still probably a big issue, and it was probably still a lot of people were still very behind the times from all walks of life, not just religious people. So you can sort of see where this frustration from Spence is coming from. But I think the episode handles it really well, and I think this show has done a good job. Some of it probably comes from the way the book handles it anyway, but whatever, the storytelling in this has been quite gentle and has, looked at these sorts of issues quite sensitively. And it sort of made it work within the drama, where you get a satisfying sort of payoff later on. Because what happens is then Sandra feels very hurt by this, and it's almost like she tries and turns it around on Spence, almost suggesting that maybe in a way he's sneering her because of her beliefs, or just painting her with the same brush as other people. She does have one bad line actually, which is a line about, not everything is, or she says something about sometimes things are black and white, and that's a good thing. And she has some line which is a little bit clunky, but at one point, when Kevin and Alonka are together, because Kevin has this prom date with his girlfriend in this episode, and Sandra comes in when Alonka's helping him to get ready, and there's some nice stuff with that in this episode and the group. But Sandra just comes storming in, and she's like preaching straight away. Like she's very sensitive towards it. And one line I do like, Kevin puts it back to her, because Sandra's almost in denial a bit about how she is like upset Spence, but like Kevin's like, well, he's pretty mad. It'll take some sort of winning back. And but Sandra does go into this sort of rant, and she's actually like aggressive towards Alonka at some point, because the previous night they'd been up and they'd been in that basement, because the start of the episode is the group all down in the basement, and they're looking at certain things because they find certain things that dates back years. And one of the big reveals, or the big reveal in the episode, is that Julia started the Midnight Club like years ago. She was actually a member, but then there's other stuff down in that basement which dates even further back than her time there. But then she was like a founding member of the Midnight Club, so that's going to be something that's important. But yeah, Sandra later on in the episode has a go at Alonka because of that, because she's saying the reason group therapy didn't go so well today is because some of us like were up, half the night messing about in the basement with you. And it's just this really mean pot shot which isn't like called for, and puts Alonka type out. So there was a danger really then Sandra might tip over the edge a bit, and where it's sort of too hard to redeem her. But luckily later in the episode they do a pretty good job of it, and it's through her story. So her story is a bit of a weird one. It's like a pretty messy and quite silly story, but I think that's obviously intentional, because it's like the character telling this story, and like in a way she's using it for a purpose anyway. So in some ways it doesn't really matter if it's any good or not. But what happens is then throughout Spence is quite cynical of it, like he's watching it, like glaring at her, listening to it, and because it involves a gay person who of course the actor played, and he's kind of like, really, you're going there after this morning? And so the story's shot in like all film noir, and you've got like the Sandra or the character she's playing, that actress, telling the story to this detective, and it's this whole convoluted high school plot about like how her friend, who's like Jake's his name, but like Spence, it's the same actor, he started having a relationship with her ex-boyfriend, and then there was a whole thing with a diary where someone like spread that and outed him, and it's all about his attempt at revenge by faking his own death and sort of freaking people out, causing a stir. But then things kind of backfire because someone really dies, because someone actually dives in. And basically it's the sort of story that just gets like more and more convoluted and silly, including like her part in it, her motivation, where she's actually involved in what happened to the guy who died. I forget his name now, but it's just one of these convoluted type stories, which I think is intentional, but it's more important what it's doing, the way Sandra's using it to like bring Spence back around and to kind of apologise. And there's this cheeky little joke, because she's been accused of like working religion into her stories, and at the end of this one, like there's like angel symbols, and she's like, she laughs, okay, I'll admit that I did go a bit heavy with the angel porn, but it's a good scene. It's good the way the other characters are like starting to get more and more into her story and being a bit entertained, and how in the end she uses it as a moral way to say, I'm sorry, I screwed up, I've been narrow-minded. And at the very end of the story, like she does apologise to Spence. Like she says, then I apologise on behalf of like all religious people if they've shunned you or if they've like been rude and shown hate towards you, because I can tell you, if you believe in God, you can't be a hater. And alright, you accept that because that's her belief, and that's like her right to believe in that. But it is this nice moment of apology, and it brings the character back around, and they have a smile. Spence accepts the apology and sort of gives her a kiss on the forehead. So it's a nice moment, and it works well, and it redeemed Sandra. So that was really nicely handled. We get a bit more about Spence in the episode and about what he's going through with the HIV and with his experience in general. Then he's struggling. The experience of coming out to his parents has been like traumatic, and he gets some reinforcement from the doctor, who's a likeable character because he's also gay and has gone through similar experience. There's a couple more supernatural moments in the episode with Spence as well, like he hears something at one point. And also Alonka sees the woman again, the woman who lives local, and once again she's just dropping little hints, because like Alonka's out, I think, picking some fruit or something, but the woman's just dropping little hints once again. Then like stuff is going on at the institute, because she says, you're a smart gal, read up on this stuff, read up on the history of the place, read some books in the library. That's if she hasn't banned it, talking about the Heather Lagerkamp character, like she hasn't removed those books. So she's kind of hinting that maybe there's some censorship, maybe she doesn't want people knowing about the history of the place, and she like tells her to like pick some blackberries or something like that from her patch, because she also says she owns the land like surrounding it. It's not actually owned by the institute and the Lagerkamp character, so that's something else. So that's a decent scene where she drops some hints. And as I said, there's some good stuff with Kevin and getting ready for the prom, going with his girlfriend, so that's a nice way to come back around with him and Alonka after the sort of drama last time. The awkward scene with Kevin's girlfriend, and the big drama at the end of the episode, which again is a pretty surprising but dramatic scene, is that Nonna starts to look unwell, and it's like after they've had the story from Sandra and she goes off, and you can see she's not feeling too well, and when she goes away later, there's like a demon that appears to her, and the next thing you know, she's fallen over, like she's passed out. So it seems maybe like demons and ghosts like that in the story represents like maybe death or illness. There's sort of a connection there, and Kevin and Alonka walk in and find her just passed out, like she's fallen on the floor out the chair. So that's the end, and it makes it look like she could have died, obviously terminally ill and stuff, so it's in a way no surprise if it does happen. But it's a big moment because of Anna has been one of the big characters of the series so far in the drama, so it would be like a big deal if she was to go. But also just a little bit of suspense and mystery around it, what exactly happened before we don't know if she's dead, but before she passed out. So that's the Midnight Club once again. Solid episode again, I'd say. I'll be back with episode 5 soon. I'm enjoying this series. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Share me out on social media, and I'll be back with more reviews soon. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.